Welcome on in and gather round, everyone. We are back with the third chapter in our Boris Ursus narrative campaign. I can't thank you all enough for all the support in this series so far. These videos are a ton of work, and you all make it well worth it. That being said, if you have any unit, lord, or hero name suggestions you'd like to still see added into this story, get into the comments and see if your choice gets woven into the story we're telling here. Let's get straight back into Boris's tale. Betrayal. Our Tsar had little doubt that peace between the Sarl and Kislev would be short-lived, but he didn't expect the savages to use peace as a smokescreen to launch raids into Ungol and Orthodoxy territory. Countless innocents had been slaughtered or carried off in lightning raids launched from the Biolands. And while Kostaltin was too proud to directly call for aid, the Tsar redoubled our shipbuilding efforts, eager to pay back the blood spilled. Scouts to the north of Ursun's forest had failed to report back since before our final purge of the bay. This had greatly troubled Boris, and before setting out on the newly built transport ships, a message was sent to the newly arrived patriarch named Alexei Ovechkin and the unit of Streltsy, infamous for modified handguns, to warn Vitaly to be on guard, as warbands were likely to be on the move through the pass. This Alexei was a fiery young patriarch of Thor's order. Born of Ungol blood, his family were slaughtered when their village in the outermost Thro Country Oblast was sacked in a brutal goblin raid. He and a few others only managed to survive due to a timely intervention of a patriarch of Thor at the fort of a rota of winged lancers. Their charge broke the goblins, and as a chaotic rout ensued, the patriarch's bellowing prayers to Thor inspired the young Alexei to join the Orthodoxy. His fervor for taking a direct and merciless approach to dealing with the chaotic powers saw him rise quickly through the ranks, and has now been given the grim challenge of defending Ursun's forest from any who might encroach. Alexei had other orders delivered to Sanitsas along the way. Layered defensive fortifications must be built quickly, walls enforced, trenches dug, and filled with sharpened stakes or frigid water, no matter the cost to current economic growth. Our burgeoning crusade was but a grain of light in the abyss, and we would be extinguished quickly without swift preparations. Our trip across the Sea of Blades was thankfully uneventful. Nothing but the sharp sting of icy wind and sea spray punctuated our journey. The men were overjoyed to finally reach the cold mires of the Biolands. Anything was better than the infernal blasts of sea mist and the lurching of the boats. Back in Ormskaro, the Ice Maiden Maravina stood confused by the lackluster welcome. After striding briskly into the town hall and threatening the village elder, she was informed that the Tsar had just left, and she had been given both a hearty apology letter as well as a request to lend her magical prowess to Vitaly's defense of the northern border. With a blast of wind, she left the bewildered elder to regather his now scattered records. Boris scratched his chin thoughtfully as the man organized to launch a blitz assault on the Sarl encampment in the Kalti Delta. There was something he had forgotten back across the sea that he couldn't quite place. As bog lanterns bobbed within the tides on the ramshackle Sarl docks, Boris quietly ordered the assault to begin. We were to remain silent until he gave the word. These fool savages would learn what a raid truly looked like. Alright, so we shall return here with the Sarl. I actually do have a new, the Tribes of the North mod added on in. So you'll notice these Sarl have a little bit of a different look with all their marauders, which is how it's supposed to be. They should also have a brand new faction leader. I'm not sure if she's going to show up. We may have, should have done this before, but I'll make sure the Tribes of the North is added to our overall mod list as well. Let's go ahead and give the Rampagers standard here to one of our Warbear Riders here. We'll give it to the Boris' Revenge. And now it's time to go take down Hargroth, Thanefrost, and his crew of sorrow. And welcome on back all to our narrative campaign. Very first battle, I can't wait. Bear Brothers are charging on into the side. Let's go ahead and show you how our formation is looking. We have ourselves our kind of a hybrid checkerboard going, while the Norskins are moving on in and sending their skirmishers forward as they do like to do. I guess they haven't figured out at this point that they just aren't quite the protagonists. But you can see that the tribes of the North Sarl have these kind of blue hoods on, which is, it's pretty cool looking. It doesn't change their stats at all, just gives them a different aesthetics, and this is going to be for pretty much all of the actual Norskin tribes that we will run into in the north. That way, even though we're going to be facing marauders a whole bunch, they'll all look a little bit different, which should be awesome. I'll even slow it down. I think pretty much all of the units look a little bit different. Like, it's not the Javelin Cavalry. But the Spearmen, I guess everyone just has their little blue hoods. They are all kind of meant to be marsh ambushing types. So the Sarl are very marsh-focused and focused on ambush tactics, which we have managed to crush them before they really managed to get up and running. Thankfully for us. We've got ourselves a pretty defensive position. The Sarl warbands are now moving in as quickly as they can. They've decided it's time to send in the skirmish cav. So they've got the spears and a couch ready. Let's see. Will you use the forest as cover? Looks like, yes, they're going to go ahead and elect to run through the forest as cover. Will it save them? Probably not. I do have a unit of Bear Brothers back here just to kind of keep them bothered. I do know that we can't do much to them, because they will be much faster than the Bear Brothers, but they have better armor and better stats, so even if they do try to throw those javelins at them, it shouldn't do much. We've got some return fire coming now into the woods, taking down a few of the lads over there. We'll also send some of the warriors into the woods as well. That way, if any of the javelins do get chucked their way, they should be blocking a lot of them just due to tree trunks. Thank you, nature. Forest stands watching the warriors come on in. We're going to kind of reposition. We're trying to draw these warhounds in, that way we can wipe them out in a hurry, and then worry about holding a flank of infantry. Warhounds aren't really acting as the way we expect. They charge directly into the front line here. They meet the warriors. Pistols and arrows wreaking havoc on the front line of marauders. Very low armor means they are going to struggle. Bear Brothers, though, are smashing into the flank. The Sarl Berserkers beating something a little bit more angry and berserk than even themselves. Each bat of a claw, breaking spines, arms, legs, just whatever they're hitting. And Urkalisk, shattering skulls with his censer and his onion dome staff. Gonna give a little slow-mo shots here, as it looks like the Sarl Chieftain is doing some pretty good damage to the squad of Armored Kossars. Armored Kossars are great at holding the line against infantry. They do really struggle against single entities, until they get some good veterancy, or if you get a couple of good stats under the belt, such as the ones from your research, or just veterancy. Those flying overhead, we are using them to eliminate the ranged troops in a hurry. No shields whatsoever means these guys are going to be pincushions fast. And the right flank has been crushed. Bear Brothers and Boris moving in to find new targets who have not decided that discretion is the better part of valor, and Hargroth is going to be a perfect example. Big chop in there for Boris. Hargroth losing about a sixth of his health each swing, which is really bad. Kalti Delta Norskins try their best to hold, but their leadership breaks and the warriors flee, hoping to survive to fight another day. And what do you know, a decisive victory getting us up to rank 11, where we should now have a quest for Ursun, or we just get Ursun outright. Alright, so if we look and see here, Goramun has come on in with a group of 18. Thankfully, they are inactive in terms of bloodletting. However, he is rank 9 and already up on a Juggernaut, which is terrifying. We can see there are some exalted bloodletters in here. I'm just fighting a full squad of Khorne when we are in a forest, where we're not going to get any of our walls that we would normally be able to kind of stave Khorne off with, is terrifying. What we are going to do is immediately go for the Invocation of Tor here, which is going to give us Thorsten's Thunderstorm, extra barrier, vigor loss reduction by 50%, so we'll take stamina loss 50% less, and we'll have 25% more weapon strength during this siege battle. So we go for the Invocation of Tor right away. And then what we're going to do is wish that this technology for the Ice Rod enchantments was done sooner. So we're going for magical attacks for Boyars, Adamants, and Druzhina, as well as a bit more armor piercing. Magical attacks is what we really want, since we're going to be facing so many demons in the north. Just being able to completely ignore their physical resistance is going to be fantastic. But we don't have that quite yet, so Vitaly here, we're going to give him both of our ROR. Go pretty heavily into the negative for this turn.
Only the bravest are required.
And then hope we have enough troops to hold the line against Gormon here. We'll see. Unhand Khorne's Herald. We are going to spend no more cash afield. Boris's brilliant strategy has seen us through yet again. This Sarl fought like cornered dogs, taking many faithful with him to the afterlife, but were broken beneath steel, gunpowder, and claw. While Urkalisk handled the purification rituals, messengers arrived from the nearby provincial capital, sent by Kostalton to inform Boris of their triumph over the Sarl stronghold in the area. This was good news indeed, as this would mean Boris could leave the Delta in the Orthodoxy's capable hands, while we return to fight in the wastes. While the Bile lands are swiftly purged of corruption, things in the Forest of Ursun have become critical. As none of Vitaly's scouts have returned, he dared not throw away any more lives, and instead turned to redoubling fortification efforts. They would not be complete in time, as a warning hordes blared from the lookout posts located on the border of the forest. Vitaly cursed, and quickly shouted a few commands. The defenders hastily threw on their equipment, dashing into loosely organized ranks. The first of the crimson-clad heathen strolled from the tangled wood, with just a few hundred meters of tundra prairie separating the opposing sides. A quick headcount told Vitaly the grim reality. They'd be vastly outnumbered this day. He nodded to Igor and Alexei to take their positions. By the motherland, they would hold this forest at all costs. And Karnath's legions descend upon the forest of Ursun. Auto-resolve here would be giving us a Pyrrhic victory, and if you were in my shoes, I would go ahead and click the auto-resolve here, where though we are telling a story, so we shall face down Karnath's sons, Vitaly and his garrison, facing a legion of brass. Alright, yeah, now this is one of those battles where you're going to have to hope and pray that our wards save, and our Thorsten's Thunderstorm is going to help out here. So we actually have a couple of, let's see if I can pause, a couple of buffs going on. So we have 800 additional barrier due to the Tor invocation there at the settlement itself. That's also going to be giving us more weapon strength by 25%, which is not showing in the little gold bar, but that's what is going across the board here. And we should also have ward save. Where's my... Oh, we actually don't have the ward save from by the Tsar. See, that's unfortunate. But we'll have to see if Thorsten's Thunderstorm is going to be enough to hold the day here. So we'll kind of pull out and show you exactly what we've got going on. We are holding in a very defensive kind of shell formation with the shotgun brawlers in the back, as well as the Wolfhearts. Wolfhearts are going to be extremely useful here, because if someone has a summon, you can use the Wolfhearts to stop that summon cold, and then hopefully deal enough damage to get rid of it before it can do too much damage, because here today, we have to deal with 2 summons of Bloodletters from Beyond, which is always a nightmare. Our MVPs for this one, or at least our MVPs, our most important to keep alive, will be the shotguns and these magical bows. Ice Guard, I believe, still have penetration on their attacks, so whenever they shoot, it will go through one target, hit one behind, I think at least one behind them, and they have magical attacks, which is going to be so useful against the hordes of Bloodletters that are screaming their way in towards our units. They also have so many Warhounds here. Warhounds in groups of 3 or more always become a problem, because they can just use those with units who are already tied up in the back line and then just tear them to shreds. So this is going to be quite the battle here. Let's go ahead and get things back into normal speed. And Khorne's warriors stream forth. They do have a Herald on a Juggernaut as well, which I'm really not looking forward to. There's a whole lot about this fight that is very spooky. I won't lie, I thought we had access to the ward save too, so the fact that we don't here is scary. Actually, though, my very first time seeing the Ataman on the battlefield, and he looks great, although, yes, every single shield has to have Kislev on it, just in case you forgot where you're from. Kislev, and a great big bear shield. I'm sure this is great for giving people a shield bash. Oh, hello there. A Gate of Corn. We have our men immediately moving to avoid the Gate of Corn. As you can see, as they start streaming out of the gate, they will immediately get caught by the net, and everyone will start blasting into them with shotgun or whatever else they have. So that's how you deal with, and I would say it's an absolutely good use of that ability here, since these bloodletters are so dangerous. So they've been stopped, they're getting shot with icy arrows and shotguns at the same time, and so they should be fizzling away quite quickly. The rest of the warriors are moving in now. Looks like the warhounds are charging in, trying to find a juicy flank to bite into. They're going to be leading with the Fleshhounds, letting them actually disrupt the formation, and then sending in the Warhounds behind. Forsaken are leading the charge for the foot soldiers. Looks like they're going to go with an armored core, and then the great swords behind them, which is very fair. Bullets screaming in. Forsaken weathering that storm pretty well, and here comes the Juggernaut. Trying to get him caught in a kill box where Boydanov's Brawlers can start blasting with shotguns. You can see how fast that health bar drops. Boydanov's Brawlers doing some serious damage. I was saying they are MVPs here for this battle. Most everything that's going on is going to happen very fast. We've got Alexei coming, tearing across the field, trying to clothesline this lad off his Juggernaut, while Igior uses that shield to good effect. Warhounds moving on in. We're going to have to use a lot of slow-mo here, so if y'all don't like slow-mo, I apologize. Warhounds moving on in to dive into our spears and try to disrupt Boydanov's Brawlers, which Vitali is there with his great axe to try and stop himself. Wolfhearts will be blasting those crossbows in as well. We've got a huge blob up front here on these warriors. Warhounds and Forsaken trying to smash through our armored front line, which is holding it very well, especially with the assistance of the Ice Guard. But the Bloodletters are here, which means there's going to be death in droves. Enemy Lord, though, making one final charge. Makes it into combat just in time to fizzle away and head back to the Blood God's realm. Alexei gives him one last good bonk, and that's the end there. Dervishes come charging out of the woods, slamming into the side of the Fleshhounds, breaking them. With the Wolfheart's help, the shotguns find themselves a new target, and they need to quickly. As you can see, our front line is losing health rather fast. We're down to half with most of them. We've got a quarter on the guys with shields. But the number of blades they are holding against is going to start dropping them quickly. The death of the Herald, though, is a gleam of hope. Ursun's Thunderstorm coming on down in this big group. We had 4 Bloodletters altogether, but I thought these guys were going to come on through, so we're dropping the lightning, ripping through them and sending their mutilated corpses back to the warp. Such an awesome spell. If you can get a position in a good spot, you can get it just will outright delete units. Get a rear charge there from some of the Bloodletters. It's a bad time. We just don't have the units to really do anything about it, so the warriors have to hold. As you can see, all of the Warhounds have decided that fighting is not for them, and they are running tails between legs. Still, though, plenty of hot dog warriors to see our warriors into the afterlife. Shotgun's turn to try to save this unit because we need them to hold a little bit longer. You can see they're trying to get that charge, trying to get all the way into the Brawlers. We will be retreating ever so slightly. We just do not want them tied down in any kind of fight. We send in the dervishes to try to disrupt that. Hounds charge on in and attempt to get a rear charge, but learn that Vitaly is quite scary. They also are going to flee without getting too much damage. As you can hear, though, the music is starting to turn towards Kislev music, which means the balance of power is now in our favor. Alright, this didn't happen in my battle, but alright, Brawlers are moving into, I guess, melee range with the Bloodletters, so be it. The enemy is broken. Against all odds, the motherland stands. Well done, Vitaly, Alexei, and Igor. All that remains is to run down the weak warriors that flee. And a brilliant defense by Vitaly, Alexei, and good old Igor here. They held the line like champions, although that was terrifying. I can't believe we got out of that with as few losses as we did. Voidinov's Brawlers and the Wolfhearts putting in some serious work. The ability just to stop a menace below or any kind of summon cold and then shoot it to bits makes the Wolfhearts the MVP here, absolutely. We gained 2,700 gold out of that fight, which is amazing. It'll allow us to hang on to both these units a little bit longer. I think we'll also then go ahead and grab the hardened captives for even more cash.
Sends a note of ransom.
Alright, skill point time, and for that glorious victory, Vitaly gains himself 3. We are going to go ahead and grab points into Hard to Hit, Inspiring Presence, and then Route Martyr. That way we can grab the Iron Disciplinarian, which is very good for Kislev. I will also go Replenish Troops and Ursun's Roar for Alexei. We are going to not have him be a Celiac's Lullaby Patriarch. He is a Patriarch of Tor. So he is going to grab the Tor's Battle Hymn, giving us 40 additional melee attack for 25 seconds. And then Igor here gained 2. Absolutely, you're going to grab the Oblast Outriders here, which is going to give us a summon of Horse Archers. It says they cause no damage, but the Horse Archers themselves do. It just there's like a little rain of arrows that comes in first, but then you get the Horse Archers afterwards. Heroic Resilience is going to give you more defense and leadership when hit points drops below 50%. Let's go Inspiring Presence first, and then probably grab Watchman and quickly go down the blue line here for Igor. Igor the champion. Alright, and welcome back to our research tree, where we are going to turn on and grab the Norse Hatred next. So ever since they sacked Arengrad, leveling much of the city and slaughtering a large portion of the populace, it's an understatement to say that the survivors have no love for the barbaric Norsemen. This will give us both less chance for plagues to spread and less cost for those Slaneshi armies to be stealing our units. They'll have a way less budget to do so, and then it'll get us into just dealing more damage and having more defense when facing off against all of those undead or undivided forces too, or all those demonic forces. We'll also gain immune to psychology, which will be perfect against all of the fear they'll be causing. Fantastic stuff. Onward.
The bear lifts us.
We were back on the sea to the dismay of all, traveling swiftly back to our small port at Ormskaro. While Boris had not yet heard of the brass invasion of Ursun's forest, he had received disturbing visions of burning chapels and reclaimed streets running with rivers of blood. Orkalisk concluded the bear god was undoubtedly warning his champion, and the Tsar responded decisively. We were to travel into the West Trollheim mountains and root out any hives of corruption we found there. Back in the Bile lands, the last of the Sarl were being rounded up and put to the sword by the Ungol clans that dotted the Troll country. The last of the blue-cloaked huntsmen pursued doggedly into the marshes that they once were the masters of. The Ungol Kossars told strange tales of things they saw while pursuing the Sarl. Bodies found ripped limb from limb, but lacking any blood. Of men pinned to tree trunks by simple arrow impacts. Works of a true monster. Well, none of Kislev's stock had been slain in this manner. We had all be cautious and send some hardened orthodoxy men to investigate, lest the situation change for the worse. Upon arriving back in Ormskaro, we found the Ice Maiden Marovina waiting for us, still none too pleased that she was forgotten at the docks in the first place. Boris quickly quieted the tempest by bringing her up to date on the goings-on of our stanitsas and discussing his recent visions. While Ice Court and Orthodoxy usually could not agree on the time of day, both Maravina and Urkalisk agreed that this was a sign. The Tsar's territories would soon be under the full attention of the Blood God. Swift progress was made on our march to the Trollheim. Miles fell away under the rhythmic pounding of our boots, and soon we came upon the first gathering of chaos. In a place known as the Golden Monolith, we found a large gathering of corrupted Northmen, as they infested ruined buildings in a ring circle around a monolith of gold larger than the greatest statues to Ursun. Boris bellowed a challenge, and our warriors' war cries rose to meet his. Gorn's brutes came pouring out of the settlement, eager to die for their fallen god. Alright, and we arrive for our very first battle against the Exiles of Khorne. Definitely going to be the easiest one. We know there's an army further to the north, and they are likely to come down and attack the Forest of Ursun, same as the Sons of Karnath did. So we'll have ourselves a battle. We must fight this one. Even if we auto-resolve it, we'll probably lose a good half of our front line and our Pulsars there. So we need to make sure that that does not happen. Boris, Maravina, Urkalisk, the battle. Alright, battle is not going to be nearly as spicy as our last one, but still probably fun all the same. It's always fun to beat down on Khorne's warriors. They deserve it. Plus, they always have their summons of bloodletters from below or bloodletters from beyond, which is never fun. But Orskin is here. Great big angry bear. He makes your normal bears look teeny tiny. He's covered in the icicle armor, so you know he's elite. Interesting though that he goes from the blood armor, Boris that is, like the blood armor that you kind of see with, I guess, Ulrika. And then it goes to being normalized, so I'm not sure if he is meant to be kind of a blood spike lad, or if that's just not supposed to be a thing at all. Either way, we're sending our warbears to either side. I realized we could use them to kind of convince these bloodletters. So instead of attacking one of our side angles, they can come in and just chase the warbears around. Boris and his bear crew are going to be smashing into these warbears, or these war doggos. Mutated corn dogs stand no chance against Erskine and his sons here. As you can see, across the rest of the board, though, our warbears are playing a deadly game of tag, and it's working out quite well. While our maiden works to just slow the enemy. Every single time she is casting, it is slowing the enemy by 25%, allowing our missiles to fire a little bit more. So even if she's missing damage-wise, that 25% slow is pretty effective. Moving into gunpowder and arrow range now. Our foes are, they're not enjoying it. We send the Ice Maiden skating into the front line. After explosion ability. And continue to skate on like nothing happened. We did take a lot of damage in the initial charge. Bloodletters. Bloodletters are just mean. Urkalisk is the bravest patriarch alive, fighting a Herald of Khorne solo with nothing but a sermon bonk stick. Taking a lot of damage, but he does outlast the Herald. No problem. Whose head rolls free of its shoulders. One of the most dangerous lines is going to be up front here with Boris and the Warbear Riders, who are brawling with some Warriors of Khorne. They will win that battle, but they'll take some damage doing so. Boris and Erskine not having any trouble ripping apart Warriors of Khorne. Erskine's favorite food is chaos. Heavy plate. Crimson Warriors, though, are the last ones fighting, and even they break. It's funny how fast they will turn and start running. The running away animation, I think, is the same speed as you get for charge, or at least you get it for a few seconds to try to help them break from combat. So it does look funny for a moment. But Khorne's warriors are shattered. Our bears shall feast well. Alright, a very good first clash with the Exiles, but definitely, like I said, definitely the easiest of our uphill climb against them so far. We'll go ahead and... We barely made it to this province. We'll go ahead and loot and occupy. The bear needs it more. Won't worry about repairing anything. Oh, actually, the Golden Monolith was the major settlement? Well, that's pretty nice. It is in Norscan territory, so it will not act like one, is, I guess, the only issue there. We're never getting access to walls here, are we? Eh, just the way, isn't it?
Drużyna.
Alright, before we end the turn, we'll go ahead and upgrade our Karsamals to a Gospoda. Taverns and inns found in more established diницы and cities, where the varieties of vodkas and kvass on offer are truly impressive. Keeps the people happy. Alright, and next we are going to go ahead and snag a point into Quartermaster to make sure we can get even more elite troops with Boris. Since he is rank 12, we do have his unique skills, but I am going to continue to go down the blue line until we get Renowned and Feared, and then we will circle to his unique skills. For Marovina, we shall give you Hailstorm, and Freezing Wind slows them by 25% anytime she casts. That's fantastic. We need all of that. Alright, so is Skarbrand at Black Gulch, or is he out past Grungdurat Draz? We'll find out soon. Once again, we clash blades with Chaos, and once again, Chaos is crushed beneath our faith. Boris informs the men to be ready to move at a moment's notice, and Urkalisk is ordered to only perform the most necessary purification rites. We range deep into Khorne-controlled territory, and must be swift to outmaneuver the armored legions we face. Until we feel it safe enough, no civilians will be brought to the northern conquests, or their skulls would only end up fueling our foe's power. Our recent string of victories over the Dark Gods had drawn the attention of all kindred spirits to the south. Our trade caravans were gladly welcomed in the cities of Oslo, Nordland, and throughout the northern Oblast still controlled by the Ungol. News of the Red Tsar's victories had even reached the ears of the current Golden Knight, strongest martial warrior in all of Kislev, and personal champion of the Tsar or Tsarinas. The current Golden Knight was Nariska Lesa, daughter of the previous knight, and woman of immense size and strength. Equipped with magical armor and weapons, uniquely crafted for each who held the title, the Golden Knight was a symbol of Kislev's strength and beacon of hope to the common folk in dark times. Boris's title of Tsar of Tsars held an interesting decision for Nariska, as she had been dedicated to the Tsarina Catherine following her coronation. Together, they had purged all corruption that had seeped into the Urskoy River Valley, and had a moment of respite, while Catherine turned to bolstering her army further. Lesa felt that her prowess might be better used to crush the forces of Chaos in Boris's crusade, inspire Kislev by turning her greatest shield into the hammer that obliterates the Dark Gods where they hide. As the Golden Knight resolved to make the long journey northwest, our legions were squaring off with the largest warband of Khorne devoted I had ever seen. Boris and Ursun had their gaze locked on the Chaos Warlord, who was perched upon a crimson chariot of the blood god that was being pulled by a muscle-bound nightmare. The Warlord was carrying a hefty rune axe in either hand that seemed to glow like molten metal along the edge. More chariots stood arrayed behind him, drawn instead by massive Chaos steeds, with eyes and hooves that blaze with hellfire. The cacophony of the Bloodletter's war cries were nearly drowned out by the baying of demonic fleshhounds, horse-sized canines with hide as tough as steel, and claws that could rend armor as easily as flesh. This fight would not be an easy one. Finally, a proper challenge for Boris. Here we have Zubhor Hellreek. He smells terrible, and he's leading a rather spooky war host of Khorne. The Chaos Chariots are going to be some of the most heavily armored things we've fought so far, and then the Bloodwake Berserkers here are going to be a nightmare. We need to make sure they do not touch our front lines, lest they melt away. It is a battle of Regiment of Renown versus stalwart Kislevite blood. Let it begin. Alright, and Boris has his first true battle since our encounter with the Octoprince. So we are sending Boris's bear companion cavalry around to the side to threaten whichever of the flanks flesh hounds we can as quickly as we can. We're using this great big bluff here as a kind of flank guard force. AI doesn't tend to try to go around things that are this wide, and if they do, they'll only send a unit or two, which makes it easy for you to deal. We've got ourselves set up in a checkerboard with one of the warriors up front in a little bit more of a small, compact formation to try to catch that initial charge coming in from that Gorbish chariot champion here, because that's going to be a nasty charge. So the fewer of our warriors we can have fighting him at once, the better. We'll drop the heals, fall back, let the pistols do their thing, and hopefully that is what we need to do. Let's see. Boris and the Bayer Cavalry, barrel in. We're going to use basically charge to the middle to see if we can't draw those flanks towards Boris. They tend to think they can flank you at that point, so we'll see. Gorby's chariot finds itself hungering for some bear flesh. These things are nasty. Imagine getting access to kind of feral gore beasts. They wouldn't really be too much different from, I guess, flesh hounds. These bigger, angrier flesh hounds. Or like a less feral version of a Chaos Spawn. War flesh hounds getting absolutely dumpstered. Boris rips down one of the chariots, no problem, going after another. The clash with Hell's hordes. Speaking of, they are charging aggressively into the front line, with the flesh hounds going for the warriors here, interestingly enough. They're actually going after our Ice Witch in the middle of our units here, who is going to fall back and start dropping down some ice spells. They're sending some hounds around the flanks. We have Zargard back there to stop that. Flesh Hound charge was also completely blunted. While in lore, they do tend to be nearly impenetrable to conventional weapons. In reality, in Total War, they're really pretty easy to bring down until they get some actual good buffs going their way. Chaos Chariots have made it into our front line, where those unconventional pole weapons are getting to work. You got Corn Gorge charging in behind, and a couple other nasties. The Hellforged Host going to be an issue, and then the Roots of the Hound too. So lots of ROR nasties moving to meet our front line. Boris and the Bears having a pretty terrifying time as the Blood-Awake Berserkers of the End Times have arrived, and they are doing their best to, I guess, unbear as many of these riders as they can. Basically, they are when I put them up against Doomseekers, they obliterate Doomseekers. So they're Doomseekers with heavy armor and big ol' flail hammers. They're the worst. Boris and the lads continue to deal with that, but our front line, ice spells raining on down, trying to keep the Hellforged Host out of combat as kind of as long as we can, or just deal damage. They dodged it very well, though, as the AI tends to. Down to half health from the chariots, but the front line is now making it, but split up and not in one unified force like we wanted. Hercules taking on another champion of chaos. He is the most veteran patriarch of any of them besides probably Kastalton himself. So the Fleshhound's now facing off against Zargard. Zargard will easily handle them here. You can see not much damage on one side, and these guys are going down quick, especially with a little bit of arrow support. Great thing about the checkerboard is pretty much all of the individual units can support one another and fire into the flanks of those already caught up into melee. Forsaken with their molten claws, the warrior, the warlord is back. See, our bear riders have had a little bit of trouble here. We're dropping down. I think I dropped the frostblade to try to get the troops out there. We're going to pull the war bears now away from this big blob, send some warriors in to... That's an insane charge that stopped me cold. Gorby's chariots, they're actually very good. Normal chariots aren't, but Gore-Beast ones are. You can see just the impact there. Those are silly. Boy, this group of warriors is down to its last few men. Another Chaos Chariot crumbles. It's like Too Angry to Die is going down on... Did you give it to the Gorngors? What a fool. So for, I think, 30 seconds, they won't be able to be killed. I would have definitely given it the Hellforged Host. A combination of Zargard and Warriors will easily help that. And the Warriors in the outskirts having a bad time. Our Warbears have made it on away from the front line with the death of so many of their own slavering followers, though. This Dual Axe Crazy is going to run, and the rest of his warriors, including the Bloodweight Berserkers, are now going to turn and try to flee for the cover of the trees. However, bears despise Bloodweight Berserkers. Rejoice, comrades. for the day we have sent these savages of Khorne fleeing back to the wastes, howling in defeat. Many honored warriors feel this day to see our victory secured, and Boris was not blind to the fact that the majority of our troops' equipment was not high enough quality to suit our purposes. Leather jerkins and rough-hide gambeson would do well to protect from branches in the wind's bite, but would offer none against rune blade and warped claw. While Boris purges chaos abroad, our Akshina have done well to root out a small chaos enclave deep within the forgotten tunnels that run beneath Sarl. Several Zinchian sorcerers were found hard at work at some foul ritual in the dark, which the Akshina promptly interrupted by collapsing the tunnels with barrels of gunpowder. Over in the forest of Ursun, Vitaly had been making his rounds. Several new Kossar units had been trained and equipped, which was excellent. What was less so was the vineyard that had appeared at this out of nowhere on the hillside, just outside of the main village. It had been there for a few days, but none yet knew of its origin. Just as barrels of delicious wine were delivered by cart each morning since its appearance. Orthodoxy agents had been sent to learn more, but until ill intent had been discovered, the Druzhina welcomed the morale boost it brought people. Boris's warriors snapped to attention as a small coordinate warband was spotted careening towards them across the rugged terrain. We had finally arrived in the lands called the Black Gulch, known for their vast deposits of magic dampening obsidian, and Karnas devoted were not pleased with our presence. "Defensive positions, comrades! Let these dogs break against your shields!" came the cry from Boris. The devils of chaos were upon us once again.
With Ursun's breath.
Warm your hearts with Ursun's breath. We will fight this one too. You can obviously see this is not going to be much of a fight. But I don't trust losses fighting against any of Khorne's forces here. We've got Relentless Rage, they can't die, and he does have the Summon from Beyond, so we'll want to keep our bears back to run over anyone trying to flank these Kossars here. Let's do it.
And not so much a Chaos Warband as a nuisance, but still we must be cautious all the same. Our Patriarch is now upon his bear as well, which means he is even more dangerous than he ever was. His sermons are going to be spine-shattering. We have our bears in the back to defend against any kind of summons from beyond Khorne's realm. I'll be pouring out 2 summons of demons here in this battle. You're rolling with Flushhounds, normal Khornehounds, and a heap of Bloodletters. We'll see if the Herald has what it takes to survive longer than 30 seconds of combat. I'm gonna go ahead and speed the battle up just a bit until the first summon arrives. There they are. The warriors spring into action, waiting for the gate to open, where these warriors immediately get caught by a net and torn to shreds. I mean, they didn't actually deploy the net in time. Either way, the bears have arrived. Got ice going down in the back just to slow everyone. And then also we have Gust of Truthlight going down for extra range here, so they'll start firing these pistols much sooner. Up to 100 range instead of the 80 that your pistoliers normally have. You can get it up to 90 with your research, which is going to be fantastic in tandem with Gust of Truthlight. More ice coming down. Warbears smashing apart those Flushhounds, and the Herald here locking eyes on the Callous. Hates mage. Destroy mage. And she notices a little bit too late. Run! Gets chopped once by that Hellblade. That's more than enough, and Boris has come on in to tell this Herald he's been here long enough. It's time to leave. You're hitting ladies. Time to get your spine shattered. Meet Erskine, also known as Chippy. What? There's no Warbear Rider here, but it's still battling? Oh no, we've got the bug where our Warbear Riders are invisible. Or at least some of them are. Just looks like we have some guys that they've lost their bears. Either way, this Herald is getting... Well done there, Jimbo. He doesn't need a rider to rip apart a Herald in cold blood. Speaking of cold blood, these warriors are feeling it a little bit chill. Horus arrives, and now it's Uber Doom. See if we get any of his awesome match animations. That is a lot of Erskine battering fools. Doing a very good job of it. Even more ice spells. I know it. That's our patriarch. Wait a second. It appears as though our patriarch has become a werebear. See what's going on here? I was wondering what this was. It was our patriarch. Urkalisk is invisible now. He's got himself a powerful new potion. That looks hilarious. The butchery was swift and merciless. No chance was taken with even a single wounded follower of the Brass King. All were put to the sword and burned according to Urkalisk's direction. While this brutal task was well underway, a wounded scout slumped into camp, barely able to stay atop the horse that carried him. He was the lone survivor of a delegation sent to further strengthen relations between Boris, the Ungol, and the Bebchuk clan. They had run into a large pack of mutated warhounds that had quickly butchered the majority of the party, which this scout had only survived by luck of chance and a few well-placed arrows. Still, he and his horse were covered in deep wounds, and were sent to the healers to hopefully recover. The warhounds had assuredly been sent by Skarbrand to stop our cooperation with other Kislevites in the area, which did not bode well for the people of these lands. Boris then proclaimed that we would be further pushing into coordinate territory, to cut off any war supplies and reserves of fresh recruits. He felt if we dealt enough damage, we could draw the greater demon out of hiding and send it screaming back to the war. Our own scouts had reported that there was a surviving dwarf hole to a direct north in Eagle's Peak. Skirmishes had been seen between yellow-clad dwarfs and violet-clad Slaneshi devoted. This information seemed to confirm to Boris that the aggressive push northward would be our way forward. The dwarfs would be a powerful ally if we could convince them to join our crusade.
Alright, so after sacking the settlement, we actually gain Boris's Armor of Ursun. The suit of ancient scale carries with it the blessing of the bear god, allowing the wearer to shrug off blows that would fell an ox, and fortifying their strength. Gives more armor, a chance for enemies to fail in their actions, less wound recovery time, more melee defense, and then the Armor of Ursun, which is going to buff up his attack and damage as soon as you drop below 50% health. Which is kind of an interesting trait, kind of the first of its kind there. So we also, once we have the Red Tsar's attire, have less cost to request armies for our allies, which is, it's not the strongest, but we'll try to make do. As for our Patriarch, we will go ahead and snag the final point into Cleanse Corruption, and then Maravina will snag a point into Gust of True Flight. It's a very, very good ability, as we saw that last battle. Allowing our pistols to shoot that much further, always good. Alright, with our now pretty massive treasury, we have an opportunity to upgrade Sarl to a proper city. Settlements larger than a town are scarce in Kislev, but those rare few are run by a capable Ataman and his clutch of deputies. Beautiful. We use the rest of our gold here to grab a breastworks, also in Sarl. And then, you know what, I've changed my mind, because actually, because we have signed a defensive pact with the Uncle Kindred, we can actually see their settlements now, and Skarbrand is down here. He isn't going to be able to claim any of these settlements unless he moves back and grabs them with skulls, and while he is built up a little bit in bloodletting, he's only got 12 units. So one bad auto-resolve, and that's it for Skarbrand. We are instead going to turn around and claim the Black Gulch.
For Ursun.
For Ursun. They say a single bite is enough to put this feral beast's prey beyond the help of healing. We now have access to the Beowulfs from Mordheim, which I'm thinking we're definitely going to be using with the Tally squad. So we almost, oh no, we have Renowned Fear now, so that's more movement range, less upkeep, more chance for enemies to wound themselves if they try to take him down or any of the big lads in his army, and then more recruit rank 2 for replacing the lads. we're done with the blue line. Now it's time to finish up our uniques.
Instrument against chaos.
Alright, we're here the next turn, and at the Court and Orthodox, you can see that the Ice Court's not very happy with us. Severely falling behind in support is causing some relation issues, research issues, devotion issues. If we wanted to train up any more Ice Maidens or Witches, it's going to cost us 52% more, and then our armies are having less leadership, so we quite desperately need a little bit more Ice Court support on our side. However, we now have the 3 tokens we need to become the Breaker of Chaos, for the simple reason that there are none more hated. This gives us Thorsen's Thunderstorm Cataclysm spell every single battle with the Chaotic Forces, which makes even kind of a loss in terms of like losing a minor settlement way more devastating for our foes. So fantastic. We only have one of the Ice Court boons here, so that's something we're going to need to start focusing on. Cease with the Orthodoxy and start trying to kick it in with the Ice Court. Now we are Breakers of Chaos. And that brings us along nicely to our technology, which is taken quite a bit of 80 now, so does it round up, you think? Looks like it's giving us an 11 hit to our research, but that's okay. So what we'll do is we'll grab the Hooked Axe Blades into Pirates weapons. That way we can then get more range for our pistol units and a little bit more armor piercing. I don't like that there's always a trade-off for you lose some base. I think it should just be, here's +6 armor piercing damage too, but what do I know? So that is going to be just buffing up our pistol units. And then also giving all of our normal coster units, of which there are quite a few, more melee defense.
The bear lifts us.
And for our next decision, I'll just have you all here with me. The Druzhina Enclave are gone. What we're going to do is we're going to move towards Grung Draz and threaten Azazel. So if he wants to move through and try to attack the Ancestral Host here, he's going to likely get slaughtered by me because I will absolutely declare war to keep the Prince from taking out any of our bearded friends here. So we're going to move on Grung Draz. Take them down. There's no one, so this is a good opportunity for us to see how bad the auto resolve will be. This is there's so many less than there were against Skarbrand's troops, so let's find out.
The motherland in you.
There's only 25, that's not bad at all. And then we are going to loot and occupy to try to hurt the enemies here.
We have armies to feed.
That's victory over Khorne. We've got more leadership facing coordinate factions, which is going to be countering our issues with the Ice Court. Next turn, though, we should have no trouble leveling up, because with our Adamants we get 5 supports. We'll have an additional boon with them next turn.
Cutting down the Blood God's servants had become well drilled into our warriors. The priceless experience of battles fought and survived was building into an unshakable confidence in the Tsar and our mission. Where before we merely hoped we would succeed, now the men truly believed we would. This trust and zeal will be the hammer that finally shatters the Dark God's hold on this world. This land we've reclaimed in the Bay of Blades, and Ursun's forest prospers, and Aegir is already organizing the expansion of Sarlfell into a full Kislevite city, as more and more flock to our walls from the ruined countryside. New mine locations have been scouted in the Black Gulch for its rich obsidian veins, and Grung Draz's caves filled to the brim with glittering diamonds. Provided we can retain control over these lands, the riches will soon flow into our treasury, and into those of the surrounding nations as well. Now as we make another long march to the east, I'll take the time to set this journal aside and find something to eat. Boris says we march for the nearest Khorne-controlled settlement, and we reclaim it for the motherland. So once again, we march into the waiting arms of death or victory. Thank you all so much for stopping by the 3rd chapter in our Boris Ursus narrative campaign. This series is progressing brilliantly, and I can't wait to see where our story takes us next. If you've enjoyed today's video and have made it this far, please leave a like for the Light God and a sub for his throne. I'm Space Wizard Total War, and I'll see you all in the next one.